Hi students, we have started to learn our topic PLSQL programming and we have learned so many concepts, and today we are going to learn something more about cursor. So unit outcome for this particular session is create cursor for retrieving multiple records in the given situation. And learning outcome is students should learn how to declare SQL cursor for loop and parameterized cursor. So today we are going to learn about cursor for loop and parameterized cursor. So let's take one revision for the concept of cursor using PLSQL. So every SQL statement that is executed by Oracle server has an associated individual cursor. That is nothing but memory area to execute SQL statements. A cursor is a pointer to the context area. PLSQL controls the context area through a cursor. A cursor holds the rows, one or more records written by a SQL statement, and the set of rows the cursor holds is known as the active set. So cursor has two types. One is an implicit cursor and the second one is an explicit cursor. So in case of an implicit cursor, we can say this type of a cursors declared and managed by PLSQL for all DML and PLSQL select statements. So we can retrieve information about implicit cursor by using some attributes. So attributes like %, not found, %found, is open, or %row count. We can apply same attributes to explicit cursors also, and explicit cursors are declared and managed by the programmer. So this type of cursors are named cursors so that programmer can easily control and manage these cursors, and programmer can avoid runtime errors, that is nothing but exceptions, by using explicit cursors. So the main intention to use cursor is when our select statement retrieves multiple records and when we have only one variable to store data, at that time exception may occur, and to avoid that we need to handle this situation with the help of a cursor. Explicit cursor has various steps. So steps like opening of a cursor. Before that, we need to declare that cursor in a declare section. Then only we can open that cursor. Then we can fetch data from that active set. Then we need to check whether that active set is empty or not. And if it is empty, then we need to close that cursor. But here, what if we get one shortcut to perform all these operations implicitly, and the option is cursor for loops. So we have learned loop construct and control or conditional construct in PLSQL. So the for loop is predictive type of a loop where we just mention one counter and we just mention the lower bound and upper bound to execute loop. So here we are going to use the same concept for the cursor. So in this syntax we literally write for keyword, then record name. So that record name will be our counter. The counter in cursor name. As we know, cursor is nothing but active set. It has various records, so it's nothing but array. So for array elements, we are going to execute some statements. So the next is loop, then statements that to be executed, and then we have to mention end loop. So this is how we can use the concept of a for loop for the cursor, and we can avoid that opening, fetching, exit and closing of a cursor operations explicitly to the cursor for loops. The record is implicitly declared, and that record is nothing but our counter. So let's take one example over here. In the declare section, we need to declare cursor. So here cursor, then cursor name. Cursor name is emp_data is select start from employees. So when we declare cursor, we have to provide select statement. So our select statement is select start from employees. It means that we are going to retrieve all information from employees table regardless of condition. So here no where condition is there. That means we are taking all column data from employees table. And in the begin for I. So I is nothing but our record, or I is nothing but our counter in emp_data. So that emp_data is nothing but cursor. It is nothing but active set, or we can say array of elements. So for those particular array elements, we need to execute some statements several times. So we have to write for loop, then put line function to display information of employee ID, employee name and department ID. So here, if you have observed, while writing emp_id, I have to add one prefix or one reference. So here I is nothing but our record. So here we are collecting all the data into the record. That's why we have to provide its reference. So I.emp_id indicates that we are taking information of a emp_id from that record. Same like this, we have to write like I.emp_name to display employee name, and I.dpt_id to display department ID. So this emp_id, emp_name and dpt_id are the columns from the table employees. So here, after this put line function, we need to terminate the loop without checking whether that active set or cursor is empty or not. Then we need to terminate the entire block. So if we execute the same statements or same block in our workspace area, then we will get result like this. So we know in my employees table I have 7 records. So I am getting all these records, then all employee names and all department IDs. So let's execute the same example in our workspace area. So I have written the same example over here. Let's run this. So here you can see total 7 employees are there, having employee name and their department ID. So this is a shortcut for the explicit cursors. Now the next concept is cursors with parameters. So this is also a very important concept as a programming point of view, because the duty of a programmer is he has to develop code and he has to utilize the same code for relevant operation by making few modifications. So here also we can use the same cursor for different active set each time by just providing different parameters to it. So how to write such type of a cursor? So in the syntax you can see cursor, then cursor name, and in a bracket we need to provide parameter along with data type. Then is and then select statement. So the select statement is nothing but the active set for which we are declaring cursor. So we can pass parameter values to a cursor when the cursor is open and the query is executed, and open an explicit cursor several times with a different active set each time. So if we need to provide values to a cursor, then we have to provide those values when the cursor is active. So with the help of an open cursor name and then parameter values statement can help us to provide or to utilize same cursor for different active set. So let's take one example. In the declare section, here one variable is there, EID, having data type number, then name, var_2 of 50, then cursor name is EMP data, and here I am passing one more parameter, that is ID, and having data type number. Is select employee ID, employee name from employees where EMP ID is equal to ID. So if you have observed, I have not assigned any value over here. Instead of a value, I am writing ID, that is nothing but parameter or actual parameter. So in a begin section, you can use the same cursor with the help of this open statement. So open EMP data 101, then fetch EMP data into EID and name. So this EID and name, these are the variables which I have declared already. Then with the help of a put line function, we can display the values which EID and name variable would. Then after that we need to close that cursor with the help of a close cursor name statement. So we can use the same cursor after closing this. Open, same cursor name. Now the parameter is 107. Again we need to fetch values from the cursor. So fetch, then cursor name, that is nothing but EMP data, into same variables. So we can utilize same variables with a different cursor. Then again with the help of a put line function, we can display those values, and then we need to close that cursor. So closing cursor helps us to free the memory area, that is the good habit of interval. Then we need to terminate the block. So if we execute the same statement in our workspace area, so we will get the result like employee ID 101, for employee name Robert, and 107 employee name is Kim. So let's execute the same example over here. So here same example I have taken. The first is 101, second is 107. So here I am making change. Instead of 107, I am putting 106.